getting on Twitter every day and retweeting the foulest, most racist birther nonsense, right? I demand to see Obama's long form birth certificate. The arguments that the people who are arguing for their interpretation of the 14th Amendment uh, stem directly from that lineage, right? They trotted out the same argument, got no traction in 2024, but John Eastman made the exact same argument in 2020 and 2024 about Kamala Harris, who was born in Oakland, California, right? And I don't really think you have to draw a lot of dots together to understand why did they come after Obama? Why did they come after Kamala Harris? You know, it's pretty gross.
I haven't heard anybody talk about this yet. And like, I listen and read a lot of folks who are legal commentators. I think it's important to do that, even if you're not a lawyer, and even if it doesn't always make sense to you. I think it's important to do that. And the thing that I haven't heard of that I'm surprised by is there recourse from the legal community, from the American Bar Association, from state bar associations, for these lawyers to come after these lawyers for presenting cases in bad faith, for knowingly violate the ethics of your profession? Because when you talk to lawyers, that is as sacred as anything in their lives. And I don't even know if that's on the horizon. I haven't seen anything about that. But is there recourse there that you think is somewhere out there?
Yeah. So the answer to that is yes. I'm really, really glad you asked that question, because one of the things that I sometimes get pushback in, right? We talked about uh, courts opening potentially contempt proceedings, right? And people will say, well, it doesn't really matter because Trump will just pardon them anyway, right? And that might happen, right? But the administration has been loath to just blanket pardon. I mean, they blanket pardoned the January 6th rioters. And, I'm not suggesting they won't bail out their cronies that way, but they want to assert the powers that they don't have to, right? When you pardon somebody, you are saying, I acknowledge that the courts have authority here. I acknowledge that this person broke the law, but I want to grant clemency. And I got to tell you, president can do that. Like, the presidential pardon power is unreviewable. You don't want to have a president that pardons vile racist criminals. Don't elect Donald Trump as president, right? That's your remedy with respect to that. But even if that happens, I think two salutary things come about from the judiciary punching back, right? Number one, this takes place in the open. There is discovery. They do have to articulate. To pardon somebody, you have to say, Marco Rubio called and said, keep those planes in the air, right? You have to identify the folks. And number two is your point, right? Which is that the administration right now is depending on its henchmen to carry it out. Donald Trump isn't going to go into court and argue these positions. There are about 6 people right now at the Department of Justice who are willing to sign off on anything and go into court and, in my view, lie with a straight face, right? And those folks, right, can be held in direct contempt. That's not going to happen yet, but it could happen, right? If a lawyer goes in, if Judge Xeni says, I want you to come back here tomorrow and tell me what happened, and you show up as the lawyer, and she says, what happens? And you say, well, my client wouldn't tell me. She can say, okay, well, you're defying a court order, and I'm going to throw you, in the courthouse jail until you stop, right? And that sounds like a lot, but, like, let me tell you, that's happened to journalists, right? Like,